Do not mistake this show for medical advice. If you or anyone you know is in need of a dentist, please contact 480-391-0099 to set up an appointment.
Welcome to our podcast. Sit back and relax. Dental Words Podcast. We're gonna share some facts. We gonna raise your dental IQ at the Dental Words Podcast. We will guide you, put out some bad jokes before we are through. Free information here just for you. Sit back and have a good time.
Today is January 15th, and this is episode number 107 of the Dental Works Podcast, the show about learning the ins and outs of dentistry from a patient's perspective. I'm Ted Work, and that over there is Dr. Terry Work.
Hello.
Dental Works is a family dental practice based in Scottsdale, Arizona that has been providing cosmetic and surgical dentistry for over 27 and a half years. Terry, thank you for joining me today. We've got a very special episode
Super.
planned. This was an episode that we were planning on doing in the holiday season, Christmas time, but time kind
It's
of got away from
Christmas
us.
all year round.
I wish. It's Christmas kind of got away from us in the holiday season. We were busy doing stuff, so we didn't have time to record this episode, but we already planned for it, so we're going to do the content.
Perfect. I got a lot more religious this holiday season,
great.
and that's what I want to talk about the entire time.
Well, that's so funny you say that because are we good? And we're back. Thank you. So we're
Don't
going
cut
to
that out.
we're going
Don't you
to
dare cut that out.
We're going to talk about a classic holiday film. What kind of classic holiday films come to mind?
Die Hard.
Yeah.
Is that what we're
Okay,
talking
Die Hard.
about?
No, we're not talking about Die Hard today.
Okay.
I think Bruce Willis is very angry that people think that's a Christmas movie.
Well, unfortunately, Bruce
understand,
Willis no longer knows what's going on.
Oh,
Unfortunately,
so you think his opinion's not valid?
No, he's got some mental issues.
Well, yes, that is unfortunate.
Yes.
But
there's a new Christmas movie.
Oh yeah, talk about some of your favorite Christmas
Violent Night.
movies. What?
Yeah, we went and saw it. It's actually pretty good. No, so in growing up, and a lot of people can relate to this, you always, and you weren't alive, so you can't, but it's not about you. It's about me.
Okay, all
And
right. Wow,
what it is
passive-aggressive much. I don't know why I deserve that. But
passive-aggressive. No, so it has to do with the Norelco commercials. There was a electric razor that used to. That's how you knew Christmas was coming up. They didn't used to start celebrating Christmas in March.
Yeah,
it used to be
sure.
they would wait until October. Anyway, you get the Norelco commercials, and Santa would come down, and it was a claymation stop action, whatever.
Oh,
and
interesting.
Santa was riding a Norelco razor, and they had this whole series of. Anyway, that's how you knew Christmas was upon us.
When
And
was
so
that? That was when
that
you
would
were a
have been
kid?
that would have been like mid 70s, early 70s, mid 70s. Just that was kind of that. And again, TV wasn't 24 hours a day and 3,000 channels and all that. So it was a lot.
So everybody
thinner.
knows what you're referring to if they were alive during this time.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
The Norelco. Oh, right. Yeah. And Burl
Gotcha.
Ives and just that whole genre,
Burl
which
Ives?
we're going to be
What?
talking
Burl
about.
Ives?
We're going to be talking about a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, so check out that movie, Silent Night. Deadly Night. No, that's what's it called? Violent Night.
Violent Night. It's the sheriff from Stranger Things.
Yes.
Is Santa Claus, and it's got a whole like historical Nordic vibe where he was. So I mean, originally Santa Claus was there's a lot of folklore about how he was a Nordic
Sinterklaas.
so whatever.
No,
something.
I'm just making it up.
And so,
Krampus.
yeah. So it was, but it was interesting. It's
Sure.
super entertaining as long as you don't take it too seriously.
Yeah.
Very horribly violent, like most Christmases at our house.
No, of course.
And really, really entertaining. Yeah. It's going to take over for Bruce Willis's
Die Hard?
Die Hard.
Well, we're talking about a movie that's not nearly as action-packed as those films. Although, in rewatching it recently, I watched it at 1.25x on YouTube. That's faster than regular.
I know what 25x
Okay,
is.
gotcha.
Just to
Man,
get through it.
There is a lot of violence
Does it?
in this movie.
Do the voices go faster too? They would have
They're
to.
a little faster, but because of the technology they use, it's not pitched up, so it counteracts how fast it's still faster, but it's the same pitch. If that
Well,
makes
I
sense.
love and what we're talking about, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah, we're talking about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. We're talking about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Jeez.
It was
Stop motion animation.
1964, I believe.
Yes, that's
2
when it was
years
released.
after I was born, and it was terrible. No,
Well,
I watched it again.
It definitely has a certain charm to it.
For sure. The nostalgia. You know what's interesting is old movies you watch, and it's like some were way ahead of their time. This was
Yeah.
not. But movies like Wizard of Oz,
Yeah,
that
sure.
freaking still holds up pretty good.
39, I think.
Oh yeah, crazy.
When that came out.
Anyway,
this movie. So there's a lot of firsts with Rudolph, and this is actually the longest production for a TV special at that time. I think it's actually in history. It took 18 months to produce this TV special, and I don't know how much you know about it. I've got a little bit of like some facts about the production of it. It's the longest running Christmas special on television.
okay,
There are no longer ones. I think Charlie Brown probably came out after this.
okay.
It's all stop animation, and the stop animation, interestingly enough, was done in Japan.
Oh,
So it's Japanese stop animation.
oh,
And there's like there's like a certain charm to the movie. We'll get to it because we're gonna kind of talk about some of my favorite scenes of the movie.
you're gonna
but-
overlay some stuff, correct?
well, yeah, we'll have like clips and pictures and stuff as
Sure.
we talk about
Perfect.
it. But yeah, it was. I also read a fact that the red LED was invented in 1962.
and that was Rudolph's nose.
The only way that they could have done that was with a red LED. So they were using cutting edge technology
time.
to develop these felt puppets. You know what I mean? It's interesting stuff.
Yeah. My favorite character,
Yes.
was the dad.
Which one?
Rudolph's dad.
Oh, Rudolph's dad.
Ah,
I think it's Donner.
Cover that damn nose. He was just
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to talk about is Rudolph was actually created for a department store in the mid 30s.
had to be New York City.
Yeah, well, I don't remember which department store it is, but you probably wouldn't recognize the name if I even said
No.
it.
Schmuckman's.
Clarksburg's.
Schmarksman's.
Schmarksman's. Yeah. So, and the song is what the song that he developed for, that is the main theme of Rudolph, is a lot of where the plot for the movie comes from, obviously. Right.
Sure.
So, and it's kind of, when we get through it, it's an allegory for things that were happening at the time as far as discrimination goes and things like that, right? The civil rights movement is happening. And it's just, it's so much of that time that it's funny. So I want to get into the movie. The first thing about this movie is that Santa is skinny, which I guess is a problem. Like Mrs. Claus is like, if you're skinny Santa, the children will hate you.
yeah.
What is that about? I don't. And by the
Yeah. Well, again,
we come back to it later. but-
going through typical stereotypes of
Yeah.
the time, Santa Claus is chubby.
right? No, and
I mean,
Folklorically, exactly. Now, was he in Silent Night? Or Violent Night? I keep getting him confused.
That's all right.
There's another movie.
He's big. He's just a big man, but he's not fat.
Right.
Well, and there's another movie with Kurt Russell where he plays Santa Claus.
Santa Claus Chronicles or Christmas Chronicles.
Christmas Chronicles, and he's on there, and one of the kids goes, the kid says, "You can't be Santa Claus. You're not like Santa Claus." And he goes, "Why? Because I'm not a big fat slob." Fake news. So a lot of the movies or whatever take on what's going on at the time. And so those little clicky things that are added it helps date the movie. But why? Because I'm not a big fat slob. I love it.
And what we talked about before, it's kind of the classic story of discrimination in the song. Rudolph can't do stuff. He's got a red nose. What the hell's wrong with that guy? Also, the elf, his name was Kirby, I think.
Right. Yeah,
Kirby.
I think that's right.
He doesn't want to make toys. And he
sucks at it. And he sucks at it because he's not enthusiastic about it.
Well, and I totally understand this. And he wants to go down his own life path. He wants to become a dentist. In fact, this is the reason why we're covering this movie, is because of this one character. And it comes around in the end in a way that I do not remember. And I have to have seen this a million times. Maybe I've only seen the beginning of it a bunch of times, or like in bits and pieces. But watching it all the way through and like trying to like analyze the plot, this movie's horrifying. And like for a little kid, coming up on this next part, the snow monster, the abominable snowman, his sounds that he makes are the most terrifying sounds I've ever heard. Like for a little kid watching this movie,
it's very kind of Godzilla.
Oh my gosh, they're terrifying. Like, I'm terrified of the sounds, but then they move away from it quick. They're like, but they're making toys, and it's just like I'm traumatized from the abominable snowman scenes. We've got. I also want to talk about how much of a flippin' nerd this elf dentist is.
He's I want to be a dentist.
What? Why? I love this.
Well, right.
People who want to follow their trades are just friggin' nerds.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised he's not bald, too, as a child. He's going to be a dentist or a CPA or whatever. So, and I've been asked before, did, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer have any effect on you wanting to be a dentist? Some people have asked me that. I'm like, no, I don't recall that. But I do remember watching it every year. I mean, it was on all the time around the holidays. And so, as a little kid, I can, you can say too, your memories of that movie, I had forgotten so much about it. I was trying to remember what was the dental thing with, like, the abominable snowman was mad because he had a toothache or
no. We're going to talk about it.
So, I don't remember exactly.
So the elf, and we're going to walk through the plot. So the elf wants to be a dentist, and this is a huge part of the plot because not only is he an outcast because he doesn't want to make toys, and he tries to fix the teeth of the dolls at one point.
Right.
And the elf, he says, what does he says? He says, "You'll never fit in." He like screams it at him. You will never fit in. Yeah.
His boss.
The head elf. Yeah. I also
and this is kind of mirrored by the movie Elf.
Sure.
He's big. Right. He's a terrible toy.
Inspired a lot in a lot of ways by that. The stop animation at the beginning of the movie and things like that. And you can really the animation in Elf is so much better, obviously. But I think that this old film has a lot of really charming animation sections. Like one of my favorite scenes is where they're like, "Okay, all right, guys, we have to do this song for Santa. We got to do the song for Santa." And it says, "We are Santa's elves." And they go through this big long thing. The conductor, he like drops his baton and then like slyly picks it up behind his back. Like that kind of animation stuff is really cool. There's like a harp solo and like a timpani thing. And the guy falls in the timpani. And then after the song is done, Santa's like, "That sucked." He was like, "Wow, that was terrible." And then he walks away and they're like, "What the hell?" It was.
Did he? No.
Yeah, he's like, "You need to work on that. I'm out of here." And
doesn't he say something like, "You're not joyous enough" or something? I mean, what was it?
How could you possibly be more joyous than they were? It's just so funny because he's so unimpressed. Yeah, you'll never fit in. We cut back to the Yeti. Rudolph and Kirby have kind of left. They've decided that all of the reindeer are like, we're not going to let Rudolph be in our reindeer games. Isn't that right? Let's discriminate against him.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Why don't, blah, 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 blah." Anyway, they meet up and they go on their adventure, and they meet up with my favorite character of the whole movie. His name is Yukon Cornelius.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
By far the best character. He
smells his axe.
he throws it in the air and lets it hit, and then he like licks it and smells
that's what it was.
And he's like,
licks it. No. So, well, he's talking about silver though.
Silver and gold, and that's
Silver
where
and gold.
silver and gold.
And that is, I believe, Burl Ives singing that.
Burl Ives, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's how we're bringing it all back together. He's the snowman.
Right.
I wanted to say a few of the things. He's my favorite character because he's so ridiculous. He pulls up on a sled with like Shih Tzus and wiener dogs pulling it. And then he says, I have to go to the store to get the things that I need to survive. And let's go through the things that he needs to survive. Number 1, cornmeal. Got to do it. Number 2, gunpowder. Some would say the cornmeal of the industrial age. 3, ham hocks. Goes good with your cornmeal.
Sure.
And then 4, guitar strings.
That was all of his supplies.
I got to get cornmeal and gunpowder and ham hocks and guitar strings. That's what he said.
Well, he had everything else. He had everything else.
He
was
rifles
all
them
set.
off so fast. It's so funny. And then we pass into what I think has the best song of the film, which if YouTube doesn't copyright strike me, I will overlay over this section where they get to the island of misfit toys.
Right.
Now, this has the coolest song, and I also realized that at this point there was like a glaring thing because Yukon has a gun in his belt, and it's just like a huge revolver. We're back. Yukon Cornelius has a big old giant Smith & Wesson.
What's wrong with that?
357.
That's
it's
what
a
you
kid's
had.
movie.
Well,
He's got to fight Yetis. But he never uses it to
Cowboys.
fight the Yeti. That's the problem.
Gotcha.
He and I get that and I understand it, but if you're not going to use the gun, Chekhov's gun, don't bring a gun. Don't show me a gun. You're not going to use a gun.
That's true.
We got
Wow, the detail with which you watched the movie was a lot more detailed than I watched. I was just going through.
I was taking notes as I watched it.
I was just going down memory lane, and I, as I mentioned, I couldn't remember what the thing was like. Was Yukon Cornelius going to find a gold filling in the Yeti's tooth and pull his tooth? I was trying to remember exactly.
Well, remember the Yeti is following them.
Well,
he's about to like kill him or whatever. He's going to eat him up. Or
well,
something.
the thing about it was, what I realized is, I remember watching the movie as a little kid.
Yeah.
But the details grow thin because as you get older, you don't watch the whole thing. You see that it's on, you watch it, then you get bored. And I had forgotten most of it. Everybody remembers the scene where the other reindeer are making fun of Rudolph, and he's got the girlfriend, and they remember the mom and the dad are like, the one thing the dad says, "We'll go out and look for him. That's not woman's work," or whatever.
This isn't woman's work. It's man's work. That's later in the movie. I have that written down.
He says
for
something
sure.
about I thought Ted's definitely going to bring that up. That's not
for sure. But they're on. Back to where we're at in the plot.
Okay.
They're on the island of misfit toys, and they go to the king of the misfit toys. His name is Moon Racer, and he's a lion that has wings and a crown.
Oh, right.
And he's like,
he's a misfit toy.
You can't live here. You're not toys. We also don't want you. That's kind of the scene.
Yeah.
and so he's like, all right, we'll promise we'll tell Santa about you guys, and then
let's move to Cleveland.
And in the original, they never go back to the Isle of Misfit Toys, and people were mad about it. Do you remember about that?
I don't know that, but you never find out what happened.
Never did in the original version, but there were so many angry letters that they added an addendum section.
That was on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we go to the Hall of the Moon Racer, and Rudolph is separated, and then what seems like years pass, which is like there's such a big jump forward. Rudolph is an adult now. and they talk about it.
It's like, we got to get this in under an hour.
It looks like 50 years have passed, but it's only been like 6 months apparently, or not even that.
Deer grow fast.
So what we've got here is it's Christmas Eve, baby. It's a few days until Christmas Eve, and guess what? A big storm is passing through.
We'll just have to cancel Christmas.
Christmas is canceled as far as skinny Santa is concerned.
Is he still skinny? No, he's fattened up.
No, not quite. Not yet. It's 2 days till Christmas Eve. He's still skinny. We have to talk about this.
We need carbs.
That's
still, what fruitcake.
He's still skinny Santa 2 days before Christmas Eve. And months pass. There's a storm. Okay, so they get to where I can't remember exactly what happens. Rudolph hears that, oh no, they got the love interest and your mom.
Well,
also.
There's two different stories going on. There's the dentist kid and the Rudolph story.
Well, sure.
And
at this point, they have split up, right? So Yukon Cornelius and the dentist kid are separate from Rudolph, who decided to leave because he thought that the Yeti was attracted by his red nose, which it technically was. But what we come upon is Rudolph comes to the Yeti's cave literally at the instant that he's about to eat the love interest.
Right.
Instantly, like he's lifting her up into his mouth, and he runs in and tries to save them, and then the Yeti rips off a stalactite and kills Rudolph. He literally smashes him with a big piece of stone.
I remember thinking that.
Absolutely no way he survives that. He is a dead reindeer, and I don't know why they decided to just let him live, why they didn't knock him out in a different way, or
the way they did his eyes. He had like big X's on him or something,
No, for sure. Also, the way that Rudolph attacks the Yeti is by running his antlers into its taint.
Okay.
That is part of the thing. Yukon Cornelius and Kirby, they find the cave at the exact same second. I don't know how. And they decide that he needs to oink like a pig. That works.
Right.
Because it's a movie.
I do remember that.
Yukon Cornelius not using his gun, like knocks snow onto
Doesn't he
the
go
thing?
on top of the cave entrance?
And he knocks snow and knocks him over and then knocks a rock on him, which doesn't kill him. And we're going to talk about what happens here. He gets knocked out, and they go back into the cave. Yukon Cornelius saves Rudolph. Then we see Kirby and the Yeti walk into the cave. The Yeti has no teeth because Kirby literally ripped all of his teeth out, which is horrifying to me.
Now, when was it that the monster falls in the water? Or he says something about...
That's when he's chasing them the first time and they get away by hammering off the thing.
He
and
said,
floating off.
right. He said he doesn't like water or they can't swim.
Yeah.
All right.
They can't swim.
This is the second time.
So this is the second time. This is where... so there's... pull all his teeth out. And then there's like a Gandalf Balrog Yukon Cornelius style showdown where they both fall off the cliff at the same time. And you think Yukon's dead, but he's just... The bit is that they're bouncy, and that's how he survived, is that they bounced.
Then the whole premise was the reason the abominable snowman was so mean was because he had a toothache?
I don't think so. No, he was just an evil beast.
Well,
and
but
he had no teeth now, so he was only good...
but he could put the star on top of the Christmas tree.
That's the only thing he was good for now, because all his teeth got ripped out.
Because I thought it was one of those things where he was pissed off because he had a toothache. But
we get back after saving everybody. Rudolph is crowned the king of reindeer or some shit. I don't know. And then Santa gets fat in 5 minutes by eating mashed potatoes. I don't know how they did that. He's like, I'm fat now. All right, let's go. And he gets on the thing. And the ending section, as we talked about, there's this scene. So they fly off and it's like, Merry Christmas, where you could tell it was supposed to be over. But then there's like this scene of night, and it's like around a campfire and all the toys. There's a toy.
Is this what you were talking about? The Island of Misfit Toys where they add to it. Gotcha.
People were so upset that they had to add an extra scene where Santa comes and picks up all the toys. And you could tell it's rushed because there's like, all right, everybody get in. And the bag opens and then all the toys just in one frame. They're all just like, all into the bag. Like they're like, we have 5 minutes to make this scene. We gotta, come on. And they do that, and it's through the credits, they're dropping the Misfit toys out. It's a great, it's really good. But the question that I have for you is, if you are up against an abominable snow gnome,
Oh, God.
and all you have is pliers, is it an effective way of defeating it by ripping all its teeth
Oh
out?
my God. I always love this. In movies, they make extracting teeth always look so easy.
Sure.
You know, like there's a movie called The Dentist or something, and it's got Steve Martin, or there's another.
it's Steve Martin.
There's several movies about that. But in the and we've watched a lot of Netflix lately,
Yeah.
and anytime, like, one of the things is, they can't identify the body because you took out all of its teeth. Like, that's the only way you can identify. And he's got a face tattoo, you know, like, but that's the premise is you can't identify him because of dental records. But they always act like, or they pull a front tooth and it's got 3 roots on it. You know, I always love those, you know, but that is true with anything. I don't care if you're a plumber and they're showing a plumber working, and, you know, a plumber would be like, he would never use that pipe cutter under that circumstance.
Can't believe they're not using a J turn. What the hell's that about?
Yeah. So as a dentist, everything looks silly.
Sure.
We watch medical shows where they're like closing, you know, the surgeon will be like, oh, the heart's working again. Okay, go ahead and close. And he walks out.
All right,
You're like,
see you guys later.
Your mom and I look at each other like going, that's not how that works.
Sure.
He's out. Wait, he's dying. He's dying. He's got 2 minutes left. Oh, he's okay now. Go ahead, get him in recovery, and you can check him out later today. Wait, no.
Just staple him up.
He is going to be in a coma for at least 6 months. And it's so funny. But again, any vocation, they make fun of the way TV or movies portrays anything. Doesn't even matter what it is.
Yes. So I very much do enjoy this format, and I think we're going to keep doing this. I think we're going to keep watching dental themed or dental adjacent movies.
Dental adjacent.
We did Smile, which is kind of dental a little bit.
I'll tell you what,
That movie was spooky as hell.
The trailers for that still give me goosebumps. And when the lady's head falls upside down next to the car. Anyway,
dude,
it's a must. Yeah, it's a must. I don't know.
It's a movie
used
for
to
sure.
say, I used to say, I don't like scary movies. I don't like scary. You know how you get you get used to saying something. I don't like scary movies. And then your mom was like, we're going to a scary movie for Halloween. Oh, okay, I guess. And I went and I really had a good time. So now she and I will every once in a while watch a scary movie just because it's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
It's kind of thrilling, you know. Anyway,
I mean,
fun.
they're fun every once in a while. I just don't like being scared. Just not a fan of it.
Well, the whole startle thing, gory. I'm not a big fan of gory, and especially with now with all the special effects, it looks so real. It's just kind of like, I mean, like Saving Private Ryan is not a scary movie, but it was horribly traumatizing.
Sure.
And it was because it seemed very real, and it's portraying something that happens. So a horror movie is kind of nice because it's usually, or an alien horror movie where it's like, well, this is never going to happen. You know, space spiders or space crabs or whatever, you know, well, that's not likely to happen. But something like Saving Private Ryan is like, shoot, I know this did happen.
I get that. You know, it's interesting because Jonah Hill has an interesting philosophy, or he used to have an interesting philosophy with watching movies. It was that if it didn't happen or it couldn't happen, he's not interested. So like Star Wars, don't care.
Really?
Yeah. And
Lord of the Rings.
Leo DiCaprio got him to watch Mandalorian, and he's like, man, that Grogu is a cute little baby. You don't know what I'm talking about, but the audience gets it. And with that, we're going to say thank you for listening to the Dental Works podcast. If you'd like to support the show, please give us a rating on iTunes or your podcast player of choice. If you'd like to get in contact with the show or you have questions, please send an email to dentalworkspodcast@gmail.com. We may talk about your question on the show. If you're located in the Phoenix area and you need dental work, please give us a call at 480-391-0099. We will see you guys on the next episode, which is going to be our year in review. We're talking about the stats.
Awesome. Well, let's back up just a little bit because I wanted to talk about the fact we went to Las Vegas for an ICOI meeting. This coming week, we are going to a place I've never been, New Orleans.
What?
Or is it Nolans?
It's New
We are
Orleans.
going to go, we're staying at a Marriott right by the French Quarter. I'm very excited about
Nice.
it.
And
We're
that's
gonna
a
do
ICOI
an
thing?
ICOI, International
Cool.
Congress of Oral Implantologists.
Nice.
And so, your mother and I are going, and it's going to be really fun because, like
Cool.
I said, we've never been there. And everybody says, oh my God, Marianne, you're going to love it. It's the best seafood in the world. And then she's like, I hate seafood. And they're like, why are you going?
Do you want me to set you up with a mobile podcasting kit?
Sure.
That'll be fun. You just have it'll just be two microphones.
Will it be crocodiles and
You're
we're
going to interview a crocodile?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, they've got teeth, right? Aren't they known for their teeth? Well, so we're going to be going down and doing like a swamp tour and that kind of thing. So
all right,
should be
well,
fun.
We'll see you guys on the next episodes. Thank you.
Bye.
This podcast was produced by T-Door Productions. Theme song written and recorded by Neil Hathaway. Vocals by Terry Work. Sound effects provided by freesfx.com and zapsplat.com.